In 1845, inside a psychiatric hospital in Mexico City, doctors were baffled. 104 people had suddenly appeared in the city plaza. They were delirious. They were shouting about a green fog and a train. But the strangest part wasn't their hysteria. It was their clothes. They were dressed in fine Italian silk, suits and dresses that wouldn't be in fashion for another 60 years. They claimed they had just boarded a train in Rome. They claimed the year was 1911. In 1845, no train existed that could cross the ocean. And yet, there they were, lost in time. This is the story of the Zanetti Train, the train that left the station in 1911 and never arrived. To understand the nightmare, we must first understand the dream. The year is 1911. Italy is in the midst of the Belle Epoque. It was a time of innovation, industry, and immense wealth. The Zanetti Railway Company wanted to make a statement. They built a luxury tourist train. It wasn't just a machine. It was a floating palace. 3 wagons, top-tier engineering. It was designed to offer the wealthy elite a leisurely tour through the scenic landscapes of Lombardy. July 14, 1911. The station in Rome is buzzing. 106 passengers board the train. These aren't just anyone. They are aristocrats, businessmen, and socialites. They carry with them the arrogance of the age. They believe technology has conquered nature. The mood is festive. Champagne flows. The engine roars to life. The destination, a newly constructed tunnel, the longest ever built in the region. It was supposed to be an architectural marvel, but as the train approached the mountain, the passengers didn't know that they were heading towards a tear in the fabric of reality. The train enters the Lombardy tunnel. It is half a mile long. Usually, a train would pass through it in minutes. Spectators were waiting on the other side. Minutes turned into hours. The train never exited. Worried railway officials sent a search party into the tunnel. They expected to find a breakdown, maybe a derailment, maybe a fire. What they found was nothing. No wreckage, no bodies, no soot on the ceiling. The tracks were pristine. It was as if the 3-wagon train, and all 106 souls on board, had simply evaporated. Well, not everyone. 2 peoples were found wandering near the entrance of the tunnel. They were passengers. They had jumped off just seconds before the train disappeared, and their story was terrified gibberish. They spoke of a hum, not the sound of the engine, but a vibration that they could feel in their teeth. As the train approached the tunnel, a white fog appeared. It didn't behave like steam or smoke. It was milky, viscous. It seemed to swallow the light. One survivor said, "It was like a wave." The fog wrapped around the engine. The train seemed to slow down, but the wheels were spinning faster. We got scared. We jumped. As they hit the ground, they looked back. The train didn't just enter the dark tunnel. It dissolved into the white fog. And then, silence. For decades, the disappearance of the Zanetti train remained an unsolved mystery in Italy. The tunnel was eventually sealed up during the war, burying its secrets. But history has a way of leaving crumbs. Remember the hospital in Mexico? Records from a local magistrate in Mexico verify that in 1845, a group of 104 Italians were taken into custody. They were confused, aggressive, and claimed to be from Rome. The psychiatrists of the time diagnosed them with mass hysteria. But here is the physical evidence that keeps historians awake at night. Among the possessions confiscated from these madmen was a tobacco box. It was kept in the archives. When researchers examined it years later, they found a manufacturing date engraved inside, 1907. How does an object made in 1907 end up in a police locker in 1845? The 104 Italians never returned home. They died in the asylum or vanished into the population. Their stories dismissed as lunacy. They were travelers who arrived 66 years too early. Skeptics call it a legend, but physicists have a different term: chronal anomalies. Some theories suggest that the Lombardy tunnel sits on a fault line, not a tectonic fault line, but a magnetic one. Under extreme stress, magnetic fields can theoretically warp space-time. The white fog the survivors described, it matches descriptions of electronic fog reported in the Bermuda Triangle, a state where the laws of physics break down. If the train hit a moving time rift, it didn't travel through space. It traveled through the fourth dimension. It slipped off the timeline of 1911 and was deposited, violently, into 1845. There is one final, chilling footnote to this story. Throughout the 20th century, railway signalmen in Europe and Russia have reported seeing a 3-wagon train, with blinds drawn, moving silently along tracks that were closed or abandoned. In 1955, near Balaclava in the Crimea, a signalman claimed to see a train that matched the Zanetti description perfectly. It was moving on tracks that led to nowhere, tracks that had been removed years prior. He said he saw people in the windows. They weren't screaming anymore. They were just staring. Are they still traveling? Stuck in an infinite loop between 1845, 1911, and eternity. The tunnel in Lombardy was bombed and sealed during World War II. Whatever door was opened that day remains closed, or so we hope. For now, the Zanetti train runs only in the pages of unsolved history. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.